Russia's Black Sea Fleet has been forced to retreat from Crimea following relentless Ukrainian drone and missile strikes, marking a major strategic win for Kyiv. Once thought untouchable, the Russian fleet has suffered devastating losses, with nearly one-third of its 74 warships damaged or destroyed. Kirov-Class Battlecruiser Russian Navy. The sinking of the Moskva and repeated attacks on Sevastopol have rendered the fleet functionally inactive, according to the UK Ministry of Defence. This retreat not only weakens Russia's naval power but also signals Ukraine's growing dominance in the Black Sea. With Russia's ability to project maritime power diminishing, Ukraine's asymmetric naval warfare continues to yield unprecedented results. The Russian special military operation in Ukraine has been a disaster for the Russian military. The loss of nearly 500,000 troops, thousands of tanks, and hundreds of their best aircraft to a military in Ukraine thought to be inferior has been an eye-opener. But having their Black Sea Fleet forcibly removed from Crimea has to be terribly galling to the heads of the Navy. This withdrawal is despite being against Ukraine, which has no ships. Inconceivable. At the onset of Russia's invasion in February 2022, the Ukrainian Navy had one warship, the Hetman Sahaydachny, a Soviet-era frigate, that had to be scuttled in the Ukrainian port of Mykolaiv to prevent it from falling into Russian hands. The Russians were thought at that moment to have complete control of the sea. Those assumptions were wrong. When Russia invaded on February 22, 2022, the Russians had 74 ships in the fleet, most of them in the Russian-occupied Crimea, which it annexed in 2014. But then, in April of that year, the Ukrainians were able to pinpoint the location of the Black Sea Fleet's flagship, the Moskva. The Moskva was the recipient of the now famous reply by the Ukrainian defenders of Snake Island. The Moskva called the island's garrison over the radio and demanded its surrender, receiving the now famous reply, "Russian warship, go yourself," from the Ukrainian defenders. Once the Ukrainians had located her, they sent a Bayraktar TB-2 UAV, which distracted the Russians. The TB-2 UAV may have confirmed the Moskva's location. Then, on her port side, she was slammed with two R-360 Neptune anti-ship missiles from Ukrainian shore batteries near Odessa. Fires raged. The Russian sailors tried to fight the fires, but the ammunition blew up. She rolled over on her side and sank on April 14. The Russians claimed it was a fire on board that caused the ship to sink. But the embarrassment for Russian President Vladimir Putin and the Russian Navy was huge. From March through July 2022, the Ukrainian defense at sea was purely defensive in nature. They took advantage of targets of opportunity and conducted anti-access area denial operations near the coastline, where they stopped Russian amphibious operations targeting areas west of the Dnipro River. On June 30, the Ukrainians retook Snake Island. The UN brokered the Black Sea Grain Initiative on July 27, 2022. Beside the Moskva, the Ukrainians sank the Alligator-class tank landing ship Saratov. A year later, after Russia withdrew from the UN Black Sea Grain Initiative, the Ukrainians began an offensive against Russia's fleet. This second phase is strictly offensive in nature. The campaign goals were neutralizing Russia's Black Sea Fleet and isolating the Crimean Peninsula, according to an article by Dan White. The Ukrainian drone and missile attacks were growing more and more deadly as they showed the growing sophistication of the homegrown drone capability. The Ukrainian Special Operations Forces conducted operations that disrupted the Russian resupply